Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting for February 21st, 2023 to order. And if you would all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We will move into the roll call. City Clerk.
Gabriel.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
Somerville.
Here.
Cumbie.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
That's 9 present and 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. We will move on to item 4, which is public comment on non-agenda items. If anybody would wish to speak to the council, you can come forward to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom, and we will let you into the room. You'll have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close that public comment period, and I will recognize the Vice Mayor for changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the following changes to the agenda be approved by adding item 13A, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and sign a memorandum of understanding with other governmental entities seeking impact assistance funds from the Gold King Corporation mining project.
Second. Motion by Vice Mayor Cumbie, second by Councilor Newman. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, the agenda has been changed. Vice Mayor, I'll move to you to set the agenda.
All right. I move that the agenda be set as changed. Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Cumbie, second by Councilor O'Doherty. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, seeing none, the agenda has been set. Council, we're going to move into one proclamation for the evening, and I'm going to go ahead and read that now. Whereas the City of Laramie is a political subdivision of the state of Wyoming, and whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas the Laramie City Council is committed to providing a high-quality emergency communication system to the residents of the region, and whereas the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and EMS responders is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who use the 911 system, and whereas the Laramie City Council recognizes the professional and unending service of the 911 emergency communications operators who answer 911 calls on a daily basis, and whereas the 911 emergency communications operators are the link between people calling for help in an emergency situation and the emergency response agencies who arrive on the scene, and whereas the 911 emergency communications operators are the true backbone of the 911 system, and whereas the President of the United States has historically acknowledged the second week in April as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, now therefore be it resolved that I, Brian Harrington, acting as Mayor and President of the governing body of the City of Laramie, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim April 9th through the 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. On behalf of the 911 emergency communications operators in Albany County, Wyoming, and encourage all local governments to sign a similar resolution, and all 911 emergency communication centers are encouraged to celebrate this week with appropriate activities and commemorations. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused it to be affixed the seal of the City of Laramie this 21st day of March 2023. And with that, I would just, Council, like to recognize Rebecca Simpson, Yancey Brown, Sam Vigil, Ashley Lawson, McGuire Thiel, their supervisors Kim Meyer, Jenny Graham, and Steve Morgan, the PSAP administrator, for joining us this evening, as well as many other members of the public safety system here in Laramie. If anybody would like to come forward and receive this, or I might invite you all up for a photo. But if somebody would like to come speak with us, we'd sure welcome you, and we'll do the photo at the end. Who drew the short straw? Yeah, everybody come up. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Harrington. City Council, thank you for the recognition of our public safety dispatchers. Some notes of worth for the City Council. When I arrived in 2015, we had 12 dispatchers on staff. We're authorized for 14, and the last staffing study said we should have 17 and a half. We've been as low as 8, and right now we're at 10 with 2 in training, so it's looking up right now. We've cast a wider net this afternoon. I posted our job nationally. It's appearing in about 15 different public safety journals and websites, so we hope to get some outsiders into Laramie. There are people who would tell you that the dispatcher's job is the hardest job in law enforcement. I know Chief Brown, who's at the Law Enforcement Academy right now. He's online. His predecessor would absolutely tell you it's the hardest job in law enforcement. If we were running 99% of the time, we'd be closed 3.5 days a year. And that's just not acceptable. And the highly trained, skilled, and caring staff behind me, they have your back, they have the officers' back, they have the firefighters' back. The firefighters are out on 3rd Street right now. Otherwise, I'm sure they'd be here to support us as well. But we would love to have a picture with City Council. We brought a little banner that you can all hold up to thank 911. And again, thank you very much for the recognition.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Council, we're going to sneak. We'll come to you because otherwise we just disappear. It's okay if Vice Mayor is on it. We're all sneaking through.
No, you're good. I'm gonna move that thing.
So we may just join you here.
That works.
Thank you. Who would like the proclamation?
Thank you all.
Who would like the banner? Oh, no.
Sam?
There we go. Stephen.
If you can't see the camera, I can't see you.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam City Clerk, would you?
Did you want
I think Steve would like my nails.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank you very much. I want to move this back to you.
Sure, yeah, I'll let you do that. Nice talk. Thank you, sir. Much appreciate it.
Welcome. Want to get another?
Keep moving. Let me see here.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, Council, we have no public hearings tonight. City Manager, do we have any announcements?
Mayor, we do. I'm going to start with the city clerk.
Please.
She's got a number of announcements for you, and then we'll have an announcement from the planning office as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have, as city manager said, several announcements tonight. The first one being that we wanted to remind the council that WHAM 2023 Summer Convention is in Cody, Wyoming. If you plan to attend, if you could let us know as soon as possible so we can make sure we have a room available for you. I have a few on hold already, but I just want to make sure we have adequate space for everyone. The second announcement tonight is regarding the conference as well. The resolution, if we have any resolutions that we want to present to the WHAM board and membership for a consideration to bring to the legislative session this next year, that all starts at the WHAM convention. So we need to have those turned in before that convention, and I believe the due date is in May 8th, I think. So the sooner you can get us your ideas to the city manager or to myself, the sooner we can get those resolutions drafted and on our agenda to approve before we send it on. The third note is a follow-up to that as well, is a voting delegate. So at these WHAM summer conventions, we do need a representative from Laramie to vote at those resolution committee meetings, and also an alternate. So just to kind of put that in your mind as if you're attending, if that's something that you'd like to do, that'll be coming up on a future agenda as well. The last thing that I wanted to note, Mayor, is just our openings on boards and commissions. We have several right now on various boards. So if you know of anybody that's looking for a space to volunteer, there are lots of opportunities right now, and we'd love to have more volunteers. So they can contact the city clerk's office if they have any questions. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, City Clerk.
Thank you. And then our associate planner, Joseph Shahid, has an announcement for us.
Mr. Shahidi, welcome.
Good evening. Speaking of more opportunities to volunteer in the community, this year, April 22nd through May 7th, is the 2023 Laramie Cleanup Days. This is an event that's open to groups and individuals, and it's an opportunity to kind of clean up the windblown trash that has accumulated during the winter and kind of put our best foot forward right before UW's graduation and during one of the best seasons of the year in Laramie, summer, which is, I'm told, is still coming. Trash bags and safety vests can be provided to people, and also if people are interested and they don't have a group, we can get them connected with a group. We have several priority areas throughout the city, and we will provide both trash bags and safety vests and come around and grab the bags after everybody is done. So just wanted to let you all know that that is an upcoming event.
Before you walk away, who should members of the public contact to get bags, vests, and pick up?
The best way to get in contact with us would be to either call at 721-5207 or they can email at planning@cityoflaramie.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other announcements, City Manager? Okay. Council, any disclosures by members of any conflict on items on the agenda this evening? Okay. We will go to the Vice Mayor to item 8.
I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, second by Newman. You got beat, Councilor Pierce. We'll call it the Zoom lag. All right, City Clerk, you can call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. The consent agenda has been approved. We will move on to item 11. Councilor O'Doherty.
I move to approve an amendment 3 to the citywide storm drainage master study professional services agreement for a phase 2 stormwater funding feasibility study with WSP USA Environment and Infrastructure, Inc., in the amount of $253,143, plus a contingency of $25,314.30, for a total not to exceed an amount of $278,457.30. Amend the budget accordingly and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by O'Doherty, second by Richardson. City Engineer, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Honorable Mayor, members of council. The item before you tonight is the Phase 2 portion of the stormwater funding feasibility study. This work was actually part of the scope of the work for the citywide drainage study and has been phased in over the years. Some of you remember the Phase 1 portion of the stormwater funding feasibility study that was completed last year, and council was given a work session on this last September. At the work session, council has provided some options of various funding strategies that will meet the city's stormwater program goals and priorities. This work session also went into why the city needs a stormwater funding source and what the city's priorities and goals for a stormwater program are, and the options for this to define a path forward. Following this work session, staff met with WSP to put together a scope of work for the Phase 2 portion of the stormwater funding feasibility study. This work will refine and finalize a program of services, financial policies, public outreach, data development, and operational policies. It will develop a public outreach plan and use a focus group to receive specific feedback on key issues and policy, while also meeting with city council and staff to receive input and direction. Once the work is completed and we have a direction on how to move forward, WSP will guide the city in the adoption of a stormwater funding ordinance. City staff does recommend awarding this amendment for the study, and I can answer any questions you may have on this project.
Thank you, City Engineer. Any questions, council? Okay, we will go to members of the public on this item. If there's any member of the public who wishes to speak, go ahead and come forward or raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period and return to you all, council. Any comments? Okay, thank you, City Engineer. City Clerk, you can call the roll.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item passes. We will move on to item 12. Councilor Richardson.
I move to approve original ordinance number 2055 on third reading, vacating approximately 4.31 acre pedestrian easement within Timberline Business Park, lots 1 through 7, as recommended by the Planning Commission, based on findings of fact and conclusions of law, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Richardson, second by O'Doherty. Councilor Richardson, before we go to well, Mr. Sheedy, I might actually go to you first, and you can go ahead and explain, and then Councilor Richardson, I'll return to you.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Mayor, Council, this is the third reading of the ordinance which is going to vacate the pedestrian easement on the westernmost lots within Timberline Business Park. This was an addition to the subdivision during our process that was requested by the applicant, but due to circumstances of selling the lots and figuring out how to best allocate land during that process, the applicant has found that it's a little bit more difficult to accommodate the pedestrian easement and develop those sites. As was said in previous meetings, this change has not been considered unfavorable by either planning staff or engineering staff. And so we do recommend approval. Your first motion is to approve that and authorize the mayor to sign, and the other motion is an amendment to the preamble that also needs to be approved.
Thank you. Council, any questions on that? Okay, Councilor Richardson.
I move to amend the preambles 4th and 5th, whereas as follows. Scroll down, sorry. Whereas notice of a public hearing in compliance with Wyoming Statute 15-1-602B to be published in the Laramie Boomerang on February 21st, 2023, which notice is at least 15 days prior to the public hearing, and whereas the Laramie City Council held a public hearing on March 7th, 2023, to take and consider public comments.
Second.
Motion by Richardson, second by O'Doherty. Council, any questions on the amendments? Okay, we will go to the public on the amendments. Any members of the public wishing to speak to the amendment? Raise your hand if you're on Zoom. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comment period. Back to you, council. Any comments? Okay. City Clerk, you can call the roll on the amendment.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. The amendment has been adopted. Council, we are now back on the ordinance itself. Any questions on the ordinance? Okay, we will go to the public on this. Any members of the public wish to speak to the ordinance? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comment period. Council, back to you for comments. And City Clerk, you can call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That has been approved. We will move on to item 13. Councilor Newman.
I move that City Council approve Resolution 2023-27, setting an open container area in the downtown district, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Cumby. Assistant City Manager, welcome.
Honorable Mayor Todd Fieser, Assistant City Manager. What you have before you is the continuation of an open container district that we started 3 years ago in response to the pandemic. I think over time we found that the open container district hasn't led to any major issues. We have put it in place to encourage more visitorship to the downtown and try to encourage more retail sales and use of the downtown on weeknights and weekdays as we go. Right now it's set up to run the Thursday through Memorial Day through the Sunday in October. Monday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Those are changes that were made last year to the ordinance. Permitted is the consumption of alcoholic beverages in the designated area purchased under a valid liquor license or permit with the exception of alleyways. We have excluded alleyways since we've done that. Some of the constraints on that is alcoholic beverages. No sales or service may occur without a proper liquor license. If they're consumed in the area, they must be in plastic cups or aluminum containers, no glass outside. They may only be consumed by those 21 years of age. Open container permit application fees will be waived for events that fall within this time in that area. However, special event permits are still necessary. Is that how we phrase that? Does that seem right? The open container area does not apply to special events. All necessary special events will be required. With that, we did check with law enforcement before we brought this to you. There are no reported concerns related to the open container area. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions? Councilor Newman.
Do we know how many visitors this brings in?
Honorable Mayor, through you to Councilor Newman, I don't know that we actually know that. I know there's not a way to really tally the number because there's so many entry points. Empirically, because I do visit the downtown and watch, I do see people congregating, using First Street Plaza, using Laradice Lane, doing some other pieces as it's going through. So I know that it's used some. As far as quantifying some numbers to it, I can't actually do that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Richardson.
Is the reason that it is not allowed in alleyways just because it's more difficult to regulate what's the reason for alleyways being excluded?
Honorable Mayor, through you to Councilor Richardson, I would say that I just thought that was a good idea. I guess my own personality is, people are consuming alcohol or hanging out in the downtown and kind of want them out on the streets and the sidewalks where they're visible and you can see the action happening. And just felt that the consumption of alcohol in the alleyways was not the most beneficial thing, so.
Councilor Doherty?
I have a good alleyway answer. I think that it's to promote businesses. So if you're in the alley, you can't, you're not seeing what the businesses have to offer in Laramie. So I think that's a good reason.
Thank you, Councilor.
Whether that was your original reason, I like it. Thanks.
Honorable Mayor, I like the way she phrased it better than me.
It makes a lot of sense. Any other questions, Council? Oh, Councilor Gabriel, sorry, I didn't see it
Thanks,
first.
Mayor. Todd, I was just curious, in your conversation with law enforcement, did they ever suggest maybe let's do something this way and maybe, adjust it as you went along from the first year that you started this program?
Honorable Mayor, through you to Councilor Gabriel, we visited with Brian Brown's predecessor, Dale Stalder, quite a bit on the implementation and the design of this and had his full support. In Chief Brown's review, they didn't have any concerns. He visited with his command staff about any concerns that they had, and they didn't have any changes. The big changes that actually came about were from council last year when we used to limit the days to Thursday through Saturday or through Sunday.
Night, yeah.
And we changed it to go all week long. And then we also added an hour last year based on council and actually increased the size of the map to include another area. But, it's just the intent of the open container district is really from 11 to 9. And not a lot of nefariousness can happen during the summertime when the sun's still up and there's still some activity going on, and then people might move into the bars when it may contribute a little bit there, but nothing that we can actually attribute to this.
Councilor Richardson.
Sorry, one more question.
Sure.
Do we reassess this yearly to just be able to make those adjustments, like extend the map area or decrease the map area? Is there a reason we wouldn't just say yes for 3 years or something like that? 5 years?
Honorable Mayor, through you to Councilor Richardson, I would say that it's pretty much due to staff constraints that we really didn't assess it as an ordinance. For us, it's just easy to bring it back as a resolution because it's already built and created. However, what we've heard this year is that you would like us to look into the change of the ordinance, which does take 3 readings. It takes some time to get through. And we also have to craft it so that the laws stay appropriate as they go through time. And so hearing that interest from council, we will look at that over the next year so that when we come back, maybe it moves through an ordinance change that is more permanent rather than doing a resolution.
Councilor O'Doherty.
I personally would rather do it the way we're doing it because it makes it a lot easier to tweak things if we decide there was something we missed, because ordinances are a lot more cumbersome.
Okay, any other questions, Council? Assistant City, Vice Mayor.
I think I concur with Councilor O'Doherty that I like looking at it each year and not having to run into something that we then have to revoke. So.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will say this is a rather tame approach to what we used to have 10, 15 years ago. There were times when the vote was very close to not have this going on downtown because of litter and vandalism and alleys were being, places where things were not going well. So I think that there has been some education. I think our police department has learned how to deal with this event. And so I think I agree with Councilor O'Doherty. I think we should review this every year in case things start to change again.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Newman.
I want to be a broken record, but just wanted to put my voice out there too. I would concur with everybody that's talked so far.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Assistant City Manager, I have one, this is probably, some things just feel too small to talk about, but I am curious on limiting plastic cups and aluminum containers. So you couldn't have a steel cup or, so I mean, that's in the weeds, right? But should we consider modifying that to a non-glass container or something like that?
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, we certainly could look at the resolution to do that.
And Council, that's section 4 of the resolution.
If we just say no, if we just modified that to be no glass containers would make sense. So yeah, absolutely. Like if you're down there and you have your own steel cup from Wild Gear or Yeti or whichever.
Yeah.
I could honestly see that. You could just say alcoholic beverages to be consumed in this area must not be glass or must not be held in glass containers. I think that would probably suffice, wouldn't you, Nancy? That would take an amendment, of course.
Yeah, and I ask Assistant City Manager because I know some businesses downtown are selling steel cups for this reason. Some of the bars and restaurants, in an effort to reduce plastic waste, I think, have been selling steel cups. And I had never considered that we maybe would say, sorry, that's actually against the rules. So that is why I ask, and that's why I think maybe it's worth the council's time to consider that. I, of course, can't make that motion. So if anybody else agrees, have at it.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Councilor O'Doherty?
I move to amend section 4 and replace the word aluminum with non-glass containers. No, just replace the
Second.
non-glass.
Okay, motion by O'Doherty, second by Pierce. Council, any questions on this? Any comments? Okay, we'll go to the public. If the public has any comment on the amendment, raise your hand on Zoom. Okay.
Greg Glass did have his hand up to keep it down.
Mr. Glass, go ahead and raise your hand if you have a comment on this, and we will let you into the room just on the amendment. Okay, Mr. Glass, the floor is yours when you are ready.
Honorable Mayor, I wished I had my hand up to comment on the main motion, not on the amendment. So please call on me later, but I don't have.
Yeah, you bet, Mr. Glass. We'll just you can just hang out in the room for just a moment. Okay, council, seeing no other public comment, we'll close the public comment period. Any comments by the council before the vote? Okay, City Clerk, call the roll on the amendment.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Somerville. Sorry, Somerville.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. The amendment has been adopted. Council, we'll be back to you with any other final questions here. Okay, we'll go to the public. Sorry, Councilor O'Doherty.
I have a comment. Is that
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I originally opposed this ordinance a few years ago because I worry about alcohol being involved in everything, but seeing it in practice where a parent might have one glass and that you don't have to finish it in one spot and you can go around and the family can go to, see things downtown, seeing people in the mini parks. It's just been, I think it's been beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments, Council, before we go to public comment? Okay. Mr. Glass, I'll go ahead and just recognize you for public comment on the main motion.
Honorable Mayor and members of council, I'm here tonight to present perhaps a little bit of an opposing viewpoint from someone who has 2 downtown businesses and is likely to be living downtown sometime soon. I am generally in favor of limited government and limited regulation, but long experience in our society for literally hundreds of years has shown that alcohol frequently causes people to harm themselves and others, and therefore its consumption does need to be at least somewhat controlled. Now, there is no actual proof that it helps downtown businesses one bit to have people roaming around with open containers of alcohol, and no shopkeeper However, none of the ones that I've spoken to want rowdy drunks or spilled drinks in their stores. It's also been in other areas. There's been experience to show that having this sort of an open container zone encourages binge drinking, encourages drunken driving, and encourages underage drinking. It's no secret that if you want to buy an underage person a drink, this is the way to do it. Now, in the past, I've sat in the downtown plaza and watched people who appear to be underage being handed drinks by people who brought them from the bars. The police are not there, so of course they can't see this. They simply don't have any presence at all. And members of the public can't card people, so of course you can't go over there and say, and make any sort of complaint. But this just seems to be the general thing that people do, and they know that they can do it. There's really no secret here. The bar owners, of course, are off the hook for this because, well, they didn't serve the minor the drink. Someone passed it to them. The exclusion of alleys also, by the way, is completely unenforced. There are urination and fights in the alleys. There's vandalism. We've had windows broken by drunks during that period, which goes well too late into the evening now. And we've actually had to lock our doors. We have people coming into our building looking for bathrooms. We have confused drunks stumbling in, and we've had partiers coming in and congregating inside or trying to get up to the roof. Now, other cities have tried this, especially during COVID, and have rescinded it now. Especially now that nobody seems to really be taking pandemic precautions anymore. I think it's time for us to seriously consider whether this is a good idea. I don't, if it actually did any good, well, I think maybe we could consider it, but there's no proof that it's beneficial, and it is really causing downtown to be a less hospitable place for people who are trying to live there and do business. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to join the City Council. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we are going to close the public comment period. Back to you, council, for any comments. Okay, seeing none, City Clerk, we will go to a vote on the main motion.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been adopted. Councilor Gabriel, item 13A.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council authorize the city manager to negotiate and sign a memorandum of understanding with other governmental entities seeking input assistance funds from the Gold King Corporation mining project.
Second.
Second, somebody.
Motion by Gabriel, second by Newman. Assistant City Manager.
The Honorable Mayor, City Council, first off, I apologize for having a walk-on item tonight. The Industrial Siting Commission is speeding up the process at which you have to respond to different applications. This particular process is being handled out of Laramie County Attorney's Office, and we got a request to respond to the memorandum of understanding by March 23rd, so this was our chance to do that. But the Industrial Siting Commission manages permits for industrial projects that may have impacts in this state. The project we're talking about is the Gold King Corp mining project, or the CK Gold Mine project. They held a public meeting in Laramie on December 15th of 2022, which myself and Darren Parkin attended. I'm not sure if any of the council members made it to it, but it was a neat presentation, a neat project that's going on. It's squarely within Laramie County, about 20 miles outside of Cheyenne, and Laramie and Albany County were identified as potential impact communities for that project. As we've looked into the project, it's interesting to note that all our past Industrial Siting Commission applications have been largely enhanced by the provision of paramedic services, which we offer for the whole width of Albany County. So when an industrial siting project happens in Albany County, we have lots of impact based off of what ambulance services could be increased to provide for those outlying areas. In this project, we won't have that commitment. We also don't have trucking routes. The trucking routes are intended to go out, I think it's 210 to I-80 and then use I-80 to come through, so we won't have any impact on local roads. And it's really kind of implausible to think that very many of these employees would actually house in Laramie and make the drive over the hill the wrong way during the winter time to go to work there. So staff really doesn't believe that we have any claim to impact assistance for this project, and we're just looking for your authorization to allow the city manager to negotiate the final MOU and sign it as we move forward. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councilor O'Doherty.
Councilor Pierce and I went to a presentation about this, and it sounded like huge volumes of slurry would be sent from there, I think, to China or something to get processed. So it's going to have to go on some roads, or is it going rail in Cheyenne? I don't remember that part.
Honorable Mayor, through you, the way that it was explained to us is it's going to take 210 back to the first connection with I-80, which is the Walmart distribution center. Then it'll take I-80 to Utah, where it'll be refined in Utah. And so we'll come through I-80, but it's really hard to claim impact on I-80 frontage when it's used by YDOT.
Councilor O'Doherty.
I was thinking more of, that's a lot of trucks coming down on icy roads, so that it would have, so that it might have some impact. I mean, but I guess we already have that taken care of. Anyway, I trust the city manager to take that into account. It doesn't, I mean, that's a lot. It's the weight of trucks that has such a great impact on our roads. And we know that lots of trucks out of control coming down the highway here into our valley could, spin off and cause problems. So I think it's not unreasonable to think it will affect our emergency services. If they were going east, I wouldn't worry about it so much, but that kind of tonnage coming through I-80 through our town, I mean, I think it would affect us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions, Council? Councilor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd be a little reluctant to zero out the potential impact. I think you're on the right track in terms of it potentially being minimal, but until we actually know and until they're actually operating, and I don't know when and how this process works, but and I don't know if we can amend our request at all, or make changes on the fly. But like I said, I would just be reluctant to zero it out. I'd put it at something, even the cleanup after the fact. In terms of impact to tourism, I mean, I think there's a lot of things we haven't really fleshed out at this point. So. Anyway, and I like the project. I mean, I'm not complaining about the project, but it does create stuff in the aftermath and during. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce.
Honorable Mayor, through you,
Sure.
the memorandum and understanding actually does allow you the option to get back into it with agreement of all the parties. If we see impact after the start of that, we can request amendment through the Industrial Siting Commission. However, the way the process works is you have to identify all your impacts ahead of time, and you have to support those impacts, and you go through pre-hearing statements, pre-hearings, and hearings on the project, which really is a lot of work for what we would potentially be looking at for any minimal impact. But it is, if we do see the impact, we do have the ability through the memorandum of understanding, which I'd read earlier. I didn't put it to my that 3.02, should a party request that distribution be adjusted, revised, or modified, the party shall first seek approval of all parties before submittal to the Industrial Siting Commission for their request of any modification of the amount or distribution impact assistance funds. So there is an opening in the MOU for us to go back if we do see impacts from this project.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Council?
He answered one.
So do we, I guess we wouldn't know how easy it would then to go back with that request if there were impacts. I mean, is that, that's the one thing I'm a little bit concerned about too is, I mean, it's hard to identify what the impacts are going to be when they want you to identify them up front, right? When we haven't seen what's actually going to happen, but I also am concerned that how easy is it then to get back into this once we have been able to identify? And I don't know if anybody knows that answer.
Honorable Mayor, through you, we have never gone through modification. We received lots of modifications from the companies going the other way, whether it was a reduction in the value of the project or changes. So we've seen lots of amendments to the projects coming the other direction. I've never seen them go the other way from the impacted communities towards those. But really, based on the model, if we use our consistent model, it's going to be hard pressed to find any impacts to the city of Laramie for this project.
Councilor Newman, back to you.
My only question would be, so I-80 closes west of us, where do those trucks go now? Because every time it closes, right, I live in West Laramie and I live on those dirt roads and I can tell you those trucks impact those roads. I drive on them every day. So that's kind of like the zero thing I'm kind of worried about as well. Just, I think there is going to be a little bit of impact. And obviously we can't control Mother Nature or any of that stuff, but I still think there might be some impact that we need to look at.
Honorable Mayor, through you, I have no way to quantify that impact or to substantiate in front of the Office of Administrative Hearings, and I would be unwilling to make those claims.
Councilor Doherty, did you have a question? I saw your hands was up before. Okay, Councilor Shumway.
There's impacts with anything and everything that goes on in the state of Wyoming. The vehicles, the sales tax, the fuel tax, everything that they collect from this operation goes back into the maintenance of the state and the state highways. I think we could, even have an argument that says every time we have a football game, there's a negative impact on the highways and everyone that floods into here. And when the students come back, there's an impact there. Well, of course there is. And there's mechanisms for us to gather sales tax, fuel tax, and make adjustments. Now, as far as these trucks running through with slurry from their mining operation, I doubt that any of us has ever seen those trucks enter the city of Laramie. So it's possible. If it is, I think then we can come back and say there's a negative impact. But I don't want to slow down progress. And there's, we have a diamond mine that no one has ever complained about. We have any minerals or oil or gas or anything we can find in this county would be a great blessing for us. I'd hate to, try to stop progress as far as collecting benefits from operations such as that.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions? Councilor Doherty.
So the way it was explained to us when Councilor Pierce and I went to that presentation is that the mill runs 24/7. 24/7. And I was like, why don't you ever shut down so people can go to sleep? No, it's because it's a slurry. And so if as soon as you shut it down, everything, it would, would be too hard to start up again. So I understand that there's a huge volume of rocks that has to be crushed and to find a little bit of gold. So I'm not saying stop them, I'm just saying I can't imagine that it's going 24/7 running these rocks through there, that it's going to be no impact to I-80 through our city. So anyway, I'd like to know we just have a study about the effects of a spill on I-80, what's in the slurry. I think that, I'm not sure. I think that we can't say it's non-zero. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Shumway.
I have never heard anyone complain about the numerous trucks that come from to the Mountain Cement from Lean, I think it's
Pete Lean?
Pete Lean. And they probably have dozens and dozens more factors of impact to the streets and the roads coming in and out of Albany County. So I've never heard any complaints about that because, again, it's an industry that we benefit from.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions? City Manager.
Mayor, if I could offer these thoughts, I'm not sure if all of the council are aware of this or not, so maybe I'll recap the process through the Siting Council a little bit. But the company, when seeking a permit through the Industrial Siting Council of the state of Wyoming, does prepare kind of like an impact report. And, they're big volumes. They're about that thick, usually a 3-ring binder. And they have to quantify socioeconomic impacts, they have to quantify environmental impacts. And so what staff do when we receive that work is we go through it and we try to do what you are all doing right now. We try to look at what will be going on in our county and how it will affect our services that we provide. And I think what Todd is saying to you all, and the reason that we had arrived at 0 is, for instance, a really common place where Albany County has experienced impact from the multiple wind farms that have been going up north, south, and east of us has been commuter traffic, people commuting to and from the work site, large truckloads to and from the work site, and many, many, many trips every day. And we recognize that in that situation, since this city provides emergency medical ambulance service throughout the county, that there's a real potential impact on our services. So that's an example as to where we've been able to understand and have real data to show that EMS impact is very likely and predictable. With this project, unfortunately, the workforce is not projected to commute from Laramie over to the site just west of Cheyenne. And the trucks that you're talking about, I was just asking Todd, I couldn't remember the number. He thinks it's four trucks per day at most. So the problem that we have is 4 trucks per day on Interstate 80, we have thousands of vehicles, and Todd or I have to stand up and we have to take an oath, we have to hold our hand up, and we have to say, yes, we think that these numbers and this data that the company has gathered, we really can, with all intellectual integrity, say there's an impact. So I hear what you're saying. I think what we want to do is maybe we'll mine through the data one more time just to make sure we didn't miss anything, and then we watch and we wait and we see and then open up under Section 3, as Todd had said. If that is comfortable for all of you, and if it's not, let us know. Maybe we can take a different approach. But this project just doesn't have a lot of numbers where we can show, there's thousands of trips by vehicle, and the likelihood that 1% of those have an accident and need EMS, we can extrapolate from, but we just don't have any good data to really extrapolate impact in this project.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilor Doherty.
I think you answered my concern. 4 trucks is not what I was picturing when I was picturing this thing going constantly. So I'm not worried. I don't think it's worth spending, I personally don't think it's worth spending staff time to review just because I'm risk averse. But so anyway, I trust our staff that you've done more homework than I did apparently. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Vice Mayor.
And I appreciate that there's a clause within the MOU that if we begin to witness an impact where we can take factual data and not opinion, then that helps me to accept it, that there is an on-ramp if we need it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other questions? Assistant City Manager, you mentioned that the timeline is sped up. Is that sped up on the whole or sped up for this project?
Honorable Mayor, through you, I can't quite get my head wrapped around what's speeding up all the timelines, whether it was a delay from Laramie County or which, but the timelines that I've seen over the past 3 Industrial Siting Commission applications that we've actually gone forward with has that the response time is getting shorter and shorter for us to go as your municipalities, and also the criticism of the request for the impact assistance funds is getting more and more critical from the commission on the requests.
Okay. And you answered my question. I think I had seen some reporting about from the company that was sort of talking about how slow things were going through through state government. So I wondered if it was in response to that, but it doesn't sound like it. So thank you. Council, any other questions? Okay, we will go to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on this item, go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Any comments by the council? City Clerk, you can call the roll.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. Council, we'll move on to item 14, public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak to the council have 3 minutes to do so. Go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comment. Council, any consideration of future work session topics? Okay, Councilor Shumway.
We're going to be receiving 4 new bar and grill and entertainment licenses. I didn't have my phone on, but anyway, four new bar and grill licenses will be given to this City of Laramie July 1 of this year.
City Clerk, do you have any, do you think that warrants a work session? I don't understand the details of this process, but.
Mayor, I don't know if we quite need a work session on it. Currently, the City of Laramie has 10 bar and grill liquor licenses. We have 7 issued. So we've had 3 available to the community for quite some time.
Okay.
So when the next 4 are issued, it won't impact us too much as far as issuing like the retail, which I think is what you're kind of referring to. We will be bringing an ordinance to you in the future to make amendments to our liquor laws and stuff in reaction to the entertainment factor that they added to the bar and grill. So we'll be able to bring you a little bit more information then, but if the council would like more information, we're happy to do that too.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilor Shumway.
One more thing I'll mention, there will be 8 within the next 5 years. So we'll have 8 new bar and grill and entertainment licenses that we have. The first time we had this, where there was an increase, we had a full-blown meeting, had a lot of applications, and I don't know where it went, but now it doesn't seem to be as much interest in bar and grill licenses as there was 5-10 years ago.
Sure enough. Thank you, Councilor. All right. Yeah, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I attended last Thursday.
We are just in, just to keep us on the rails here, we are just in future work session topics?
Right.
Okay.
And I'm suggesting
okay, thank you.
that be.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. I attended a public meeting by DEQ, EPA, reporting on the Nedlog property, which is just south of the cement plant. And it started out as a alumina production plant during World War II, and then went through a series of ownerships for metal reclamation and would bring in waste materials and work with those. Over the decades, they had a number of significant violations related to hazardous materials until the point in, I think, 2009, when they chose to shut down. And it's now gone into a remediation process. And there are a number of containers and different items in there that are even unlabeled, so they're unsure of what might be in there and what might be on the grounds. But they are working on doing the sampling and should have a report by about midsummer. And I think that they are suspecting there may be lead, arsenic, mercury, PCBs, asbestos. They don't know what else there. So I think that it would be efficacious for us to consider a joint meeting of council and commissioners for them to give us a report when they finish, so that we do have an idea about what's there and what the plan is. And this is moving over the years toward becoming a site for development. And so I think it would be information that could be helpful, useful for us in our planning in cooperation with commission. So that's my suggestion for a potential work session.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other council members want to join that so we get to
Second that.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Gabriel.
You bet.
All right. Any others? Okay. Council, I will miss the next meeting, but you are in very capable hands with the Vice Mayor.
I've been studying.
She knows how to bang the gavel like a pro. All right. Councilor Pierce, we are to you for item 16.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we adjourn.
Done.
Second by Councilor Newman on his way out the door. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Council, we are adjourned. Turn up.
Is this a...
Sorry.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.